Hello and welcome to The Good, the Bad and the Worst, a podcast where we watch movie trilogies and decide which movie can't play the piano anymore. I'm your host Griner, and joining me tonight...
I'm Dr. Zayas, and I'm excited to watch New York's hottest show, Stop the Planet of the Apes. I want to get off.
And I'm Luke Morgan, and what a wonderful day!
You actually quoted the movie. Good on you, Luke. Of course, we're talking about Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. We've done the trilogy. It was a good 12 months ago, I think. It was a while ago. Yes. If you really want to get our deep and meaningful opinions on the modern Planet of the Apes trilogy, please check that out. But in general, let's just give a gist of how we felt about them. For me, I wasn't the biggest fan of those movies. I think they got worse as they went along, in my opinion. I liked the first one. The second one's very good. I didn't really like the third one. You guys had the same opinion in that podcast. We don't need to go over this again.
No, I know. I will put this on my tombstone if I have to. Rise of the Planet of the Apes is not a good movie.
No, you had that opinion then. I had this opinion then, and we disagreed then too. It's okay.
Oh, good. No, sorry. I thought you were saying that I agreed with you.
No. You didn't like it. I remember you didn't like it. I remember being in the minority.
For his silly opinion back then.
I remember lessening my actual views because I didn't want to seem stupid. Conan, so you genuinely think Rise is a bad movie? How do you feel about the trilogy as a whole?
Yeah, Matt Reeves, the trilogy is all just Matt Reeves. So the second and the third are good. I agree that War isn't as good. Dawn is the peak. Dawn's really, really good. War is still good, but it had problems.
Emotional slog.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, it was dense. But yeah, Matt Reeves definitely elevated the remake trilogy into something. And yeah, this is an interesting kind of turning point where it's in the hands of someone who, I don't know, Wes Ball, interesting guy. We'll see what goes from this. But yeah, the original trilogy I like. Yeah. I've rewatched the first two of the original, which I like, so we'll talk about that later. But yeah.
I've always loved the modern trilogy. I was there in the cinema day one for each of them three films. I was really excited for it to come out. Due in main part my Andy Serkis film, so I was just like, oh, cool, Andy Serkis, CGI, let's go. I really like Rise, and it holds a special place in my heart. I really like that dynamic of John Lithgow, James Franco, who he's gone off the planet of the Earth now, but I like that, and I like how it continues to pop up through the films, as a symbolic thing of this relationship he had, and that's what made Caesar have this empathetic, worldview.
Yeah.
Agree with Conan. 2 and 3 are better films. Dawn, I think, stands very, very high. It's a film, man. Dawn, I love that movie. I adore that movie, and I can't talk enough about it. Go watch the original podcast about it. But yeah, and I'm excited for this. They just announced it's going to be a 9-part series. And this
really?
They did. They said
I heard this was trying to kind of reboot.
Their plan was always a 9-part series, and they were which we thought was very ambitious, but now we're at number 4. So this is the 4th in the 9 series. So the next one will be the 5th. And this is the part of a new trilogy, and then there'll be another trilogy after that. Similar to Star Wars, but with apes.
Similar to the original Planet of the Apes, too. There's a ton of those movies, right?
Yeah,
there's stacks of them.
There's 5 of the originals, and then there's a remake TV show, and then Tim Burton's remake.
Tim Burton.
And people are here for it.
Are they? I don't know, stats. Do we have stats to back up your claim, Luke?
The highest ever Apes... what do you call it? Previews, opening preview night, was 6.5 million, which is the highest for any in the Ape series, and its estimated opening weekend was higher than the other one, any of the other ones.
So my brief research, the opening weekend is looking like a $55 million weekend, which is pretty good. Off of a budget of 160 million. So these are not the cheapest movies to make, but
no.
People do seem to be turning up for this one. Metacritic score of 65, which, if we put that into relation to Rise, Dawn, and War, they are 68, 79, and 82, respectively.
Yeah, I get out of town that Rise is better than this, so that's not true.
Yeah.
Rise can rise up out of here. And...
Oh, I know you don't like Rise. That's okay.
You just have a problem with James Franco.
No, I don't. I'm probably the only person in the world who doesn't want to see him get cancelled. I think he's a good actor, but I just anyway. Yeah, just come back to us though.
Yeah.
All right, shall we kick it off and talk about Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes?
Yes.
Many years after the reign of Caesar, a young ape goes on a journey that will lead him to question everything he's been taught about the past and make choices that will define a future for apes and humans alike. I really liked the choice to go many generations after the end of war. I'm glad this wasn't like a direct sequel that happened the day after or anything like that. As much as I love those two, but I think it was a good choice to put this even further in the post-apocalypse.
Yeah, and see the evolution like of the apes and seeing how the planet has become that. Is it ever stated in the movie of exactly how long? Like I saw today that it's 300 years after war, but is that ever stated in the movie? Because I kept being like, how long is this after war? But
it's not super clear, and I have some problems with it. But they say at the start it just says many generations after or something like that.
Well, according to Wikipedia, it's 300 years.
I guess that's many generations.
Yeah.
Yeah. They might. Yeah, I don't remember any point of them apart from saying that.
Yeah. I do like them opening with the end of war, like with Caesar there, and them lighting like his funeral pyre, and last shot to my boy Maurice, true OG, and Rocket. Oh, I love my original crew. Like them apes.
Who are
have
these people?
I couldn't name a single one of
Rocket, Maurice, the
I
orangutan.
I remember Maurice. Orangutans are funny. They have funny faces, don't they?
They do. And yeah, I like that as like an introduction to this trilogy and sort of like a closing of the last trilogy, and then jumping into it. But I'm going to be honest here.
Oh.
I was in a bad state to watch this film last night, as Griner can probably attest to.
He was so drunk when he turned up to the cinema.
Were you constipated?
I had a rough night the night before and didn't get much sleep at all, and then had a big long work day. And this was right after work. This was like 6:30. And so I was wrecked when I went into this movie. And to walk into a 2.5-hour movie about apes, after the end of a long work week and a bad night's sleep, I fell asleep in this movie.
I can attest
because
to
I felt like it dragged and was slow. And I fell asleep, and I'll be honest, I think I fell asleep for a lot longer than what I thought I did originally, because there was stuff I was thinking about today, and I'm caught up because I literally read the whole plot on Wikipedia, because I was like, okay, I need to make sure. And there's stuff in there I'm like, whoa, that makes so much more sense now.
That'd be a great movie.
I said that to my wife. I was like, babe, this sounds like a dope movie. I was like, we should go watch this when we're in Newcastle next week. I was like, this sounds dope. I want to see this movie. But I do not remember a lot of it. However, I definitely feel like there was a part where, there was an hour and a half left, and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I'm struggling to stay awake. I feel like it's very slow easing into it. And I feel like the final half hour, 40 minutes, I was like wide awake. I was like, and that might have been because I had a good solid hour sleep, or it's because it picked up a lot for me, where I was like, okay, cool, this is interesting now. Like I'm interested in this. Like this is, it's caught my attention now. And I was definitely intrigued by it moving forward. I was like, okay, cool. I like where this is ending and where it's moving forward from here. But
yeah, I for me, I definitely felt it was a bit of a slog. I was definitely checking my phone a bit, seeing how much longer we had left.
I kept saying you check your phone.
Yeah. I also got a work email that I found more interesting than the movie, but other than that.
Yeah, I rewatched the whole Simpsons skit in the middle of this movie. It was like, Simpsons musical was better. No, I think you've tapped into the right problem. This movie is... So for context, I rewatched the original Planet of the Apes and then the sequel, Beneath the Planet of the Apes. And now those are... The first one, really, really good. I'd never seen it before. First one's really, really good. Like,
did you see the twist coming?
No, which I spewed all over my living room floor because it was a gut punch.
What a great twist.
And then I started Googling and I was like, how has no one known them? Anyway, really good twist, yeah, but just like one of those movies that doesn't live and die on the twist like I thought it did. But I was struck by both of those movies are an hour and a half. Lean, mean story machines, they get in. Actually, that's not true. The first one's an hour and 50, but it feels surprisingly fast. The second one's an hour and 30. But yeah, it's just really, I don't know. I was struck by both how those are both very slow, but also they're paced properly. But this movie Kingdom riffs a lot on the original. Like there's a few scenes that are direct recreations. One is the big catch where they the gorillas herd up the humans. That doll they find in the bunker that goes "Mama," that's the exact same audio of the doll they find in the original. Like there's clear recreations they're doing. And this is the thing, like you don't know it unless you've seen it. It's not really necessary to it. But what it shows is they're trying to set up a new, I don't know, it's a requel. They're trying to reboot, but also go ahead, sort of rebooting the franchise from the creation of this remake franchise, which is fine. But the problem with this movie is that it feels like an hour and a half or 2 hours of it is sort of set up for that. And it's kind of slow build, and like there's a lot of meandering. There is a lot of interesting stuff, but like just spread out really thin.
Yeah.
And then in the last half hour, they're like, oh, here's some interesting philosophical questions, which is what the trilogy lives and dies on. Like these movies are all about the philosophy that it engages about humanity. And it's like, oh, there's a great idea, and then it ends. It's like, and you can tell they're just like, don't worry, there's a sequel coming. It's like,
Dawn's coming.
Stop.
Dawn like, part 2.
It irked me. It's like, stop doing this. Haven't we learned by now that this is not a good way to do things? Yeah. Don't give me a first movie that's just a setup for the second. Nobody likes it. And this movie is struggling from an identity crisis, I think, because part of it feels like the first one. Part of it feels like War, where he's kind of, Noah's on the warpath and he meets a wise old sage who can help, blah, blah, blah. And then part of it just feels like set up for the thing, which, I don't know. All good parts, but they don't mesh together fully. It's a shame.
Yeah. For me, it nearly felt not like two movies, but just it's a movie in two parts, and I don't think they mesh together as well as they might have liked them to. Kind of like I didn't mind seeing the culture of this new tribe that we've never seen before. They're raising these birds and they're climbing this tower to collect these eggs. Like, this is kind of interesting, and they're calling humans echoes. What the hell is that all about? Yeah, but then that just all burns to the ground and kind of doesn't go anywhere. And then we just have this road trip sequence, this travel sequence, where we meet the wise old sage, and then he dies a few scenes later.
Yeah,
we meet the girl who can obviously talk from the start, but is hiding it. And then we get to the prison area. Yeah. I don't know what you want to call it. Where I agree. I think the movie gets more interesting there. I wonder if they could have just cut a lot of that early section out and just had it be kind of a prison break movie, right? Like, kind of have it be this downtrodden tribe that's stuck within these walls, doing slave labor, and see them rising up. I don't know. I'm not going to rewrite the movie, but I just felt like that was way more interesting than what we got for the first half.
In the opening script thing, it could have had for the past generation, there's been these clans and tribes that have been at war or whatever. The falconers, the people who raise the falcons and stuff like that, and then start with you get a brief introduction of the ritual that they're doing, and then the attack comes and it's okay, well they've really pushed it now, and then it's like that. It just goes. The whole preview for this movie and all the trailers focused on Proximus and this his Rome or whatever, this prison place. And I feel like it takes so long to get there. I felt like it genuinely took an hour and 40 minutes to get to that part where it's okay, here's the person that's on all the posters. This is the villain that's very charismatic. He steals the scene when he's on there. Yeah. He's like, oh, this guy's cool.
I wanted more. I wanted more of him. I want more of him being charismatic. I want more of him, twisting history and showing this misuse of history. That's an interesting concept. Let's dig into that. No, we're just going to give you little snippets of it
right at the end and then take it away. And
it's
I just want to say that's the thing. So I realized today that I never saw any humans get captured. I never saw. Did I cut out them for a second? I never saw any humans get captured.
You didn't see the herding up of the humans? Oh, he's gone.
No.
Now he's gone.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back now.
All right, we're recording.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Keep going.
I never saw any.
He never saw any humans get herded.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw it and still wasn't that excited by it. Like, I don't know. There's that scene where that they showed in every trailer, and it's a pretty good little tense scene where what's the girl's name?
Nova,
and where Nova's getting hunted, like she's hiding in the grass, and she stands up and talks to get the main ape's attention, and they have that
Noah,
that's it. Noah, and Noah, she's getting chased by the gorilla, and she has that leap, and she gets grabbed, and that's a fun moment, and it's there's some good tension there, but that whole meandering travel section didn't do much for me.
You guys feel like that thing with her standing up and yelling for the first time and talking for the first time, and her yelling out Noah is like a callback to like the first time the ape talk being like no, and it's like the big thing from Rise of the Planet of the Apes is him saying no, and it's like, oh my god, an ape's talking, and in this world it's like a human talking, and they're like Noah. I was like, that sounds too similar. That has to be cool.
That's exactly It's directly a callback to that, and a callback to the original where Charlton Heston says, get your paws off me. It's like, he can talk. Yeah, it's the same. Like again, it's retreading the familiar bits to be like, okay, this is a reboot. Like that whole herding scene is weird because it's direct, almost frame for frame in parts remake of the original Hunt, but it is kind of pointless because like we never see where the humans go. All it says is that humans are hunted, and it's kind of pointless because we know that they've spent the last half hour telling us humans, they're scavengers, they're useless, and we keep seeing this one who's clearly scared. She keeps just like disappearing as soon as she comes near people. So we don't really, it's kind of weird to be like, oh look, humans are hunted like animals. We sort of already know that, and I think we know enough through osmosis to know that humans would be hunted in this Planet of the Apes world. We've had 70 years where it's influenced the culture. It seemed like a weird scene, but it was fun to recreate it. But to then just be like, we never know what happened, why that was done. It's like, yeah, okay. Especially when we've already seen the guerrilla war party burn a village down. Like we know that they're bad. We don't need to know that they're super bad because they. Yeah, I don't know. What strikes me is like this movie, like keep the initial setup with the Falcon Village, have the raid, and then instead of having Noah survive and have to find it, just have him wake up in the prison.
Yeah, it makes little difference. I mean, the only thing is you don't get him learning the truth about Caesar, right? And I feel like that's the one discovery he makes in between. But there's got to be other ways to do that. I mean, could not the legend of Caesar be part of the Falcon Village anyway? But
yep, like
makes no difference to us, right?
To be another prisoner in there that talks to him, like
that was exactly.
Yeah, that was the other thing, and
they execute him.
Yeah, like exactly, and he gets up on a cross and they crucify him, and it's like, wow, what is this referencing? There's
would be so fitting. Yep.
Like there is, like you said, Grant, I don't want to rewrite it because that's a coward's way out. But yeah, it just feels like this is this in a lot of parts felt like a movie by committee where you could tell that there was boxes to be ticked, drafts written about this idea, and I don't know, two different projects mashed together, and it's whereas, again, that's why Matt Reeves' version succeeded because he kind of wrote, like he was one of the main writers of the two that he did. So they had his vision. Whereas Wes Ball, don't know the guy. I'm sure he's lovely, but I don't think he's a writer.
You're not a big fan of the Maze Runner series?
Can't say I am, and I have little faith in him.
We're going to get to those someday. You watch.
But like he strikes me as a bit of a director for hire. And so I don't think this is like this movie is very competent, as in some of the visuals are really nice, like a lot of great Australian scenery, when they're walking through gum tree forest and like, yeah, we have those. Like that's cool. Because they filmed this half an hour away from my house, which is fun. Like my wife saw them at a cafe, like saw all their stuff set up and these little things. So that was all really well and fun. Like, yeah, she got attacked by one. They started throwing nets and shit. It was chaos.
There were so many apes on horses.
It was just like that suburb is whack. Anyway, but very competently made. I think the issue lies in just the script. Really, it's I'm so sick of franchises that are like, we're setting up franchises. Just make good. And this is, again, I'm going to keep harping back to this. This is what struck me about the original two that I watched, is they are both they're both standalone movies, but they're also clearly part of a franchise, and they were made very quickly succession. The second one's got some problems, but they're like, yeah, these answer questions and these focus on issues, and they're like, this is what we're about. Whereas this movie is much more of a setup and like, got some interesting ideas of how the history gets twisted and how we remember things and how conquests, victors rewrite history. But I don't know. That's in the last 20 minutes, and that needs to be in the whole thing.
Yep. Did you guys feel like why can I not think of any of these idiots' names? May. Do you guys feel like May knew too much? Like, she was too smart? Fair enough, she comes from where there might be other people who can speak, but for the vast majority of the population to be mute and clearly very stupid, she just, I don't know, she had knowledge out of time, especially if this is 300 years after the virus has hit. Like, I don't know.
Everyone, like, from her faction talked. And they were talking.
Yeah. I would have preferred her to have some kind of religious connection to the Vault too, in some ways, right? Rather than it being like, this is where our government used to be, and you can't get in there, but I know the way in, and there's going to be a MacGuffin in there that I can go and retrieve. Instead, have it be this kind of religious pursuit that she has some secret knowledge about. I don't know. It felt weird that she just seemed to know everything. I can make explosives with this gunpowder, and I can wire it up this way.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Her whole thing is really like, she feels like one of the characters you just need to have for the plot to move forward, because she has no like, she stands for something, and the whole ending where it's they're both, her and Noah, diverge on what they think they need to do for their people is clever.
Yep.
But you're right. It's just this. She's, I don't know. She is a scavenger as far as I know, because she's been following them forever long. But then it turns out she was sent by this group. But was she part of the survivors? Because she just gives them the hard drive and then like pisses off to a mountaintop to watch the satellites move. So is she part of them, or is she like, I don't know. Yeah, I think you're right. She was just very conveniently placed. Like, her conversation with Trevathan, she spends so long being like, I can't trust you, I can't talk to you, like, to the apes, and then she just gets in there and she's just like, actually, like, where the government is, man, that's bad in there, and he's just like, no, don't worry about it. It's weird. And Freya Allen, I don't know, what do you guys think of her as an actress? Because I was struck by how kind of bland she was in this.
She's fine. Like, I didn't find her super compelling. I think that's the other problem I have with this movie. Is I don't super care about apes that much. Like, I want a human or some humans that I can connect with.
Ape racist.
I am an ape racist, you're right. I mean, they all look the same to me. What can I say? But I don't know.
What if Dave Franco was in this?
Oh, that would have been great. It should have been Dave Franco instead of Frank Allen. I like her. Like, I only watched the first 2 seasons of The Witcher. I thought she was good in season 2.
She's just very fine there too for me. Like, not exciting, but
yeah. I enjoyed her in this role. Like, and I liked that whole ending sequence between them, and she had the gun behind her back, and it's like, that's cool. I enjoy that. But touching on that, like, of engaging characters, like, that's the thing. Like, I feel like, Caesar and Koba and, like, the villain from Dawn and stuff like that were just way more. You saw them characters, and you're like, oh, that. Noah, I don't feel is that as much. I didn't find him as interesting or engaging. I was just like, okay, this is the main character now. Not like, oh, wow, I really care for Noah, or all these other apes. Like, his friends' names, I'm not going to remember them. But Rocket from the OG one, man, like, he'll be with me to my grave, I love my boy Rocket.
I do, yeah. Okay, that's cool.
You're not going to remember Suna and Rucker?
No, they're annoying.
Wasn't there Anaya or something?
Oh, Anaya, sorry, yep.
There was that one really moving scene where one of his friends starts crying and he's like, I'm scared. And they walk away, and then he comes back and he's like, nah, it's cool, I'll come with you. It's like, fuck, you had such a good chance to, like, really dig into the emotional depth, and you undid it, guys. You undid it.
I missed that scene.
Did you wake up and you're like, great, this movie's got Caesar because you fell asleep? Holy shit!
Like honestly, there's so much that when I read the plot
you were
today,
dozing, man. You were dozing.
when I read the plot today, I was like, oh, okay, so she wanted a book from in there to help them speak again, but it actually turned out to be the thing for the satellites.
She's full as shit.
But I had no idea about any of this. Hey, I was just like, okay, I didn't know what her whole thing. I was like, oh man, she killed that other dude, William Hurt. I was like, she killed him. Didn't know that. Oh no, William what's his name?
H. Macy.
Yeah. William H. Macy. I was like, oh, she killed him. That sucks. I missed a bunch. I will watch this movie again, just so I can, have a proper idea of it.
Yeah.
But do you guys feel like, because I'm kind of chronically online these days, I'm down with the kids, and all I've seen,
as the kids say, down with the kids.
All I've seen on the internet in like the last couple of weeks is people talking about the ape movies, like as in all over Twitter and all that has been people like
it's the algorithm, Luke. It's the algorithm. It's
probably because I'm like
you're already interested in it. I've seen nothing about this movie,
but everything I'm seeing about it has a lot of likes on it, and like it's going viral. Where people are talking about Dawn and Cobra, like there's a whole meme going on at the moment of like Cobra should be in every movie, and people are photoshopping him to be in every movie, and it's like I feel like maybe these films are going to hit more than I feel like the generation now that are going up might be like, oh, cool, a movie with apes than we were 10 years ago. People weren't ready for it back then. Like some people were, like you and me, Conan. Like we were ready for the apes back then. Griner was a hater,
Hey, I was all there with Rise, and then they spoiled it, right?
No, it's because you're an ape racist, and you're like apes.
I can only handle one ape that I have to care about.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah. The only movie where the apes are beaten and bruised by Draco Malfoy and like tortured and is all human characters. You're like, that one's my favorite. It's really coming out about you guys.
I feel like Harambe opened the way. He made this generation care about apes. This is why these movies are going to succeed.
He gave new life to the primates. I mean, the original trilogy came out, I guess, in a time when the main blockbusters were still being Marvelified. So what, it's like 2011,
Marvel,
2011, 2014, and 2017. 2014.
They did well.
But they did. Like War made about $500 million off a $150 million budget. I'm just looking this up. Dawn made $710 on $170. So there was a decline. So people were losing interest. But
yeah,
I mean, 2014 was roughly around Avengers 2, I think. So that's still kind of
2014
peak.
Was Winter Soldier, and
so that's still like peak Marvel strength. So for another big sort of CGI blockbuster to come out about apes during a time when everyone's like, we could have apes, but they're in cool superhero get up. You can see why this didn't quite take. People were still, hypnotized by something bad. Whereas, there is a blockbuster famine now, for lack of a better phrase. And so this could end up being the big thing. But I also think it's cursed by its legacy, where the kids, the TikTokers aren't going to be like, shit, yeah, apes, just like my granddad used to watch. Like, they don't want to see that. They don't want to see Marvel because they're tired of it. But they don't want to see this necessarily.
There was a dude in our cinema who had, really bad main character syndrome, who was just making ape noises the whole damn movie. So maybe they're really into it, he was.
At the start of the movie, he's like, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. What a shit title.
What a shit movie.
It's this child.
Zoomers, man. Zoomers. There was one next to me texting the whole movie. Anyway, let's not show how millennial we are, but anyway.
So I'm interested to track this movie to see where it goes. Because if it becomes a huge phenomenon, cool, I'm all right with that for now until it becomes there's 9. Like, there's 9 of them. Piss off. We don't need 9 of these movies.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there is an appetite for blockbusters at the moment, and obviously Marvel's in a rut, in a lull. I think Disney's pulling back on Marvel because they've realized it's oversaturated. Yeah. We're not getting Star Wars or anything like that really either at the moment. There's a vacuum there, and nature abhors a vacuum. So maybe this can fill that vacuum. Yeah, I'm interested to know, I guess, to sort of know you guys' thoughts a little bit, because Luke, you're really into this. Obviously, Griner, you're a bit more on the out. I don't mean this as like
I don't know. I mean, this is a slight to either of you, but do you think genuinely, like having a movie all about apes is a barrier to entry for people? Because I do feel that a little bit. Like there is
Yes.
something about it that, especially comparing to the originals, where it's like if the originals follow human protagonists, and it's all about kind of, it's really like topic focused. So the apes are almost like necessary to be like, oh, they're metaphors for people. Whereas in this, it's like, especially in Dawn and War, it's literally like, no, this is just following a different civilization.
Yeah.
So, Griner, you think so?
Yeah, like I was talking to Luke after the movie. I was wondering from the start of like when they first started this trilogy, is their plan to kind of recreate the original Planet of the Apes, where the Planet of the Apes are kind of the antagonists, right? Like we've got a guy crash landing on a planet and discovering people being enslaved by apes and then discovering its Earth. Is that where this trilogy eventually leads to, or this series of movies eventually tries to lead to? But I think the way, and probably Modern Sensibilities doesn't allow it either, but the way that they've made the apes the heroes of these movies and humanized them, and given us charismatic characters like Caesar and Noah to a lesser extent, like I don't think they can ever go down that path where the apes are just the bad guys. And I know they're not all bad guys in the original, right? Like there are the apes that help him to some degree because they are just a metaphor for people. But I don't know if they can ever make it so that we're following a group of humans as the protagonists who are trying to overthrow the ape overlords in a way, I guess.
Which just means like Griner's out. Like he's like, no,
that's what I was kind of hoping for with this movie, honestly, in some ways. And I kind of still hope we get there because I think I'm more interested in people than apes. I don't know. I don't know.
That's the thing. Like, obviously, the modern trilogy, there was always a human tie to the apes, but you're always sympathetic to the apes, and the humans, for the most part, except for like a small minority, are assholes. So everyone's an asshole in Dawn except for that family that like he works with, and like that's his connection with them. Third one, all the humans are assholes, like, mega assholes. They're all bad, and that's why they all need to go. And the first one is, focused on the humans, and like there are good ones, but the bad ones. And that's the thing. Like I do kind of feel like, do we get to a point where it's okay? The story is more. There are some good apes, but the majority of apes are bad. And like they are all ruled, and I think that's this idea of Proximus being this like overlord that they're all worshipping, and he's this like tyrannical dictator or whatever. But he's gone already.
But like that is kind of the only direction I see it going in, right?
Yeah.
Like how many more times can you just explore a difference? Because it just becomes kind of like a sociological movie where it's like because that's what the first half of this is like. Here are two different societies that don't coexist, and it's like without having the window dressing of apes, this is a very bland movie, right? Imagine if this was just like, here is a local tribe killed by another tribe. I'm like, that movie's been made 1 billion times. It's only because it's like they're all apes that people are a little bit more intrigued. So if you just keep doing that and keep making movies where it's like, oh, the apes are trying to rebuild, but their internal turmoil doesn't work, it's like, I think I can see it happening for one more, and that becomes the downfall where then it starts to like, because that's the original trilogy. Sorry, not the original. The remake trilogy did that. It subverted it. Instead of all the humans, instead of the apes just being the monsters and instead of the apes being the overlord monsters, humans made them that way, and they were the monsters, and apes were the victims. And so if it's going to keep it going, it needs to come back around. Otherwise, there's just not enough. There's no material to explore.
Yeah. They keep. And I think this movie does it okay, trying to have this balance between the apes wanting to grow and develop society, and humans wanting to get their planet back. And how do you negotiate between those two? How do you keep both those happy? I don't really know where these movies go as a solution, but I'm hoping that's where it ends up rather than, I don't know. Sorry, go ahead, Luke.
Does the end seem hopeful to you? Like when they're rebooting the satellites and they're reaching out. That's the thing. It's done with this like hopeful thing of like, look at the humans like doing this thing, like usually a heroic moment in a movie, and it's counteracted by Noah looking up like at the satellites basically through the telescope and like, that's trouble. But like, did you guys take from that's a build up of like this hopeful, like it's a new hope thing of like, or it's like this thing of like hope for the humans, and it's like a hopeful thing at the end.
I think I definitely did. I think the ending's pretty good because it kind of contrasts those two that are they're both successful and optimistic, but there is also that inevitable confrontation and conflict there.
Yeah.
And we know that these two are going to clash again. Not those two specifically, but we know that what they stand for. Like I said, granted, the humans are going to want their planets back. The apes are going to want a civilization. Like their natural, like that's where the conflict, I guess, will be for the next one, where these two groups are like, and that's good. That's good material. Like we both want to survive, but there is such ingrained hostility to the other because we're different species, and that was what the first one was all about. And that's that's kind of the philosophy it's riffing on. So that's really good there. But then, I don't know. You're right. It would be an interesting turn for it to do and be like, I don't know. The humans are only the heroes, and the apes become monsters. I don't know. Like,
I don't think they've written themselves in such a way they can't ever do that. I don't think.
Yeah, because you're right. It's to come away from all the CGI spectacle and be like, no, we're just following mostly humans now. Would be.
Yeah. So I mean, I think the inevitable end, if we even get a conclusive end to these movies, because who knows, they might cancel it after the next one and we never get some closure. But if we get closure on this film series, I think it has to be a world where apes and humans coexist, right?
Do we just
however it happens, they're two different, countries, or they're a society that lives together and love each other.
It's a buddy cop film. It's a buddy cop film. It's LA 2091.
I would watch the shit out of that.
A month. Key detective. Oh yeah, the job. Yeah, I love.
And they can deal with like the people they're going out to bust. Is it an ape or is it a human? And like the ape one's like, man, you were too harsh on him. And he's just like, I feel like you got a problem with my people.
I have said all along these movies take themselves too seriously. I need an ape comic relief. Like I need the
third one.
Yeah, I know, but they mostly do not do this, right? Like this movie took itself very seriously and had very few moments of levity, right? Like
Rucker is the sort of the alleviating breath, and he is even then. It's just kind of because he's aloof, and everything he says is like, that he's going to die. Yes, it's like, oh, he's nice and he's going to get killed. That's shit.
Do you think there's any chance that the ending was actually them talking to like a spacecraft, an ark in space, and that's how they bring us back around to the original 1960s movie?
I think they said where they were.
They said Idaho.
Idaho.
But you do not need a satellite to speak to Idaho, right? Ham radio will let you speak to people around the world, and you do not have to break into a government facility to get a MacGuffin to make it work, right? Like, there is no reason to spin up a satellite to talk to somebody else.
That's true. Maybe it was Duncan, Idaho from the Dune universe.
Maybe.
Oh, yeah, we get Jason.
Or maybe that's why they called the ship Idaho, because they were really big Frank Herbert fans when they built it. I don't know. I would like them to do something twisted like that. I feel like that's more interesting than, yes, we were talking to Idaho. They have potatoes there. I don't.
It seemed like a bit of a reach. It was like, holy shit, Idaho. Thank God they're not dead.
Yeah.
No, you are. That's a good point. I didn't think of that. Like, because there is so many directions it could go, like with the sci-fi, with the weirdness, sort of going in, I don't know, interesting directions. Like, spacecraft and art for humanity. That is a good point. I don't think
This is what you do. You have this trilogy focusing on the continued rise and evolution of the apes. Then we have a random trilogy in the future come out about these people in a spaceship. It's not titled about apes at all. And it's not until like the end of the second one they land back on Earth. And then it's like, boom, we're actually the third of the trilogy for the Planet of the Apes series.
Got you. You didn't even know you were watching it, but
and this is our new Charlton Heston. Who do you have as the new Charlton Heston character, Conan?
I was going to say, do we resurrect Charlton Heston? Do we unfreeze his corpse?
People are already fan casting Walton Goggins. but people can't
have a hard on for Walton Goggins right
people
now.
can't. people can't see him talking to apes without it having like a racist twang to it from Justified. Be like, you damn dirty ape.
Yeah, there's something to
With
that.
that southern accent, it probably doesn't come across well.
Yeah, there's some subtext there. I don't know. I mean, look, Charlton Heston was just I mean, he was perceived as a handsome man. I don't see the appeal myself in the earlier one. So I don't know, whoever's a hot thing when it comes out. Glenn Powell, I don't know, Miles Teller. I'm just going through the Top Gun cast, really.
Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise. There you go. Oh, that's his space movie. Holy shit. That's what he's feeling. Yeah. All right. I don't know. Like, there is a lot of good directions. I like the idea of these franchises. I like the idea of it all. I love the sci-fi-ness that they could do. My biggest issue with the reboot trilogy, and the same thing with this one, is that it doesn't lean into the sci-fi enough. It goes back to the old kind of... doesn't lean into sci-fi or the philosophy enough. It deals with, like I said, sort of sociological problems, and it kind of goes into almost like historical fantasy. Where, like, how would this imaginary society exist? And it's cool. Yeah, it's cool. It's like, oh yeah, they've got words like echoes for humans because like we could figure that out, and they don't know certain history bits. All that's fun, but I don't know. I want to see it go back a lot more to its roots.
Do we get apes in like full costume, like suits and scientists and Dr. Zaius, all that sort of stuff?
But that never happens in the originals. That's a good question. Like, does that become... because Grant, I think you tapped into it. Like, the original ones have a kind of goofiness to them, where when you see apes like in leather with guns and they go like they're doing really sort of dorky science stuff, and like they're going around testing, like, oh, this one's got an interesting cranium. It's like, yeah, there's a comedy to it. And even though the effects in the originals are surprisingly good for like the way they made masks move, yeah, I don't know if like seeing a proper ape, especially the way apes move and stuff, but then it's like wearing a tuxedo. I don't know if that's gonna... I don't know if these movies will let themselves go that way.
No, I don't think they will. Like, I even question why would they bother speaking English? Right? Like, why do they continue to speak broken English for that?
Because James Franco spoke English.
That's fine. Okay. Why have they not perfected the English language at this point?
I had that thought. If 300 years have passed, why are they still signing? And why? Yeah, like, I don't know. Because that's an interesting idea again. If it's like they actually can't evolve to where humans were, and there's kind of this identity crisis, of like, we were we were evolving and we were promised to be the dominant species, but we actually aren't because we can't even, we can't do these things. We can't figure out how to do certain stuff. Like, that would be a cool idea.
But there are some apes that talk better than others,
Yeah,
like
Proximus is pretty good.
Raka talks better.
There are, but
I expected Noah to talk better. I was surprised that he was still very broken, like after 300 years.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I think that's expected. And sort of what you were talking about earlier about the barrier to like people watching movies with apes. I feel like there's less of a barrier now because they are talking English though. Like Dawn is all sign language basically, except a couple words here and there. Like that movie's all sign language and captions. And that movie did blockbusters.
Yeah. Which is fine. I don't think the language is the issue. I think I believe there is a general like problem with the whole, we are expected to relate to apes. And it's like, and it's not an ape racism thing. I can't stress this enough. But there is just an element of like, what exactly am I connecting with here? Like, I get that and like these movies still work because they're humanistic or they're human enough. But I do think there's something where when you see the Blue Bloods where it's like, oh, follow the adventure of these apes, your average person, myself included, at times is like, why? Why do I? So I don't know. Like,
yeah, I find that hard. Like, as good as the visual effects are, like they are outstanding. Like, I was really impressed by just how real the apes look and lots of the expressions. There's still some uncanny valley there too. Like, I don't think you ever get rid of that, especially when you're trying to make them feel more human. Like, it feels strange, and it's okay to feel strange, but it makes it hard to be like, oh yeah, that's Noah's my boy. I really care about him and his plight.
Yeah, like, exactly. I think Caesar was kind of an exception because there's a bit more of you see him from the very beginning, and Andy Serkis
grow with him, right?
Yeah,
series grows with him.
Yeah, and so there is something to there of like just the sheer amount of time you spend with this one character.
You watch us in a few years when like we're watching Noah die and he's got a big grey like monkey beard, and we're like, oh my god, it was heartbreaking. Like,
it's like
watch Noah grow from a coupling into this man. Yeah.
No, but at that point we won't be able to speak because the apes would have already risen up. So yeah. No. Would this movie have been better if all the apes called Caesar Kaiser, and they said praise to Kaiser?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't think that makes much difference.
What if? What?
I do like the idea of like altering differing translations of history. Like they kind of play with that a bit with the echoes and the humans and stuff like that. Like, and I mean, even the views on Caesar obviously are very different. Like one's twisted to suit their ends, but yeah, I don't know that calling them Kaiser helps. I think
it's a great way to look at it. So, imagine that a tribe read the word and were like, "Oh, cool, this must be pronounced Kaiser."
Yeah, they can't read though.
All right, it's just a new Vegas. It's just a new
300 years they can't read.
I just want New Vegas represented in games. Would it also have been cooler if, when she's like, "There's a book in this vault that we need to get," and they go in there and it's just like a kid's ABC book.
I had the same thought. I said, "Baby's first words."
Like, wouldn't that be such a kick-ass, like, both joke but also poignant sort of? Yeah, shit. She's actually she's anticipating complete human. I don't even know the word, devolution. She's like, we're going to need to literally teach them like the basics, because I don't know why the what is it? It's a hard drive she gets, and it's like, this will just allow us to communicate with the satellite.
Satellite encryption key, but
yeah,
it's a MacGuffin, and it's dumb. I think it's dumb. I really hope there's something more to the satellites than they're talking to Idaho. I really do, because that's garbage.
And I hope it's Duncan Idaho. I really do.
Are these all right? No, this is owned by Fox. Maybe they do link together, but no, different companies. Yeah, I don't know. Are you guys like, Grana? I think you're out on it. Luke, are you keen to keep seeing where this goes, even though you fell asleep and don't care?
That's the thing. Like, it was poor timing. I'm not going to blame the movie completely, and I am interested in watching it again. And I think the most intriguing thing about it was the ending and where it moves here from. Like, I'm genuinely excited thinking about where this series could go and how it can form and evolve, you know? And I've always enjoyed these movies, like in this series, so I'm keen to be back. So
I'm keen to see where they go. I'm not like, I mean, I wasn't super excited for this movie before I saw it either, and I probably won't be, I won't be hyped for the next one, but I'm still curious to see where they go.
Before the movie, I was like, I thought we were doing Furiosa tonight, and then I realized that, damn it, it's Kingdom.
Yep. What a bummer.
What a dumb title.
And Luke said, I'm not even that excited for Furiosa. I'm keen for this movie, and then fell asleep for half.
What a dog.
Who's the idiot now? Conan, are you keen to see where these go?
Yeah, I'm just very curious, yeah. Going into this, I didn't even really want to watch this new one. I wasn't going to unless we did this podcast.
Yeah.
So same deal. I'm just interested to see where it goes, and I'm interested to follow it, like I said. But I'm not like, God, yeah, give me more apes in my life. And I don't know. CGI can do lots of things. We've got enough apes for a little while. What's the next best title, you reckon, for the movie? Because the originals all have really cool titles like Beneath, Conquest, War for. I don't know. Conquest of, like. We're using all the keywords. What else can we call these?
The Resistance on the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah. Journey to the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, it works. Apocalypse of.
Evolution of the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, that was one that I was wondering about.
That's 100% going to be one.
Religion of the Planet of the Apes.
Like, when do we get Abraham Lincoln?
Or Abraham from the Bible.
Abraham, did you say? Abraham Lincoln?
Abraham, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you know that? That's in no. That's in one of the movies. There's a statue of Abraham Lincoln, but it's a chimp.
Oh, yeah, it's in there. That's Tim Burton. Yeah,
Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes.
You're right.
We need to see him.
Like, these movies, these movies work so much better when there is just, like, plays on words. Like,
Abraham.
They're just really good.
Yeah.
Adolf Hitler. Like, we had a really bad
Oh,
few years with that monkey. He was
With that-
he was a bad monkey.
like that's a really interesting thing they reference in the original where they're like, because I think they're chimpanzees and they talk about how the gorillas are really just dumb brutes. Like
Yeah.
I want to see like, and they tease it again here because the war party is all gorillas or mostly gorillas. And I keep saying by them, like, I want to see them like literally get into some hardcore like ape racism and be like,
Well, even Rucker's like, oh, the gibbon has really long arms, but they're kind of silly or something like
Yeah.
he's describing the difference in the races.
yeah. And like see them exploring eugenic theory where one version is just like, no, we need to purge all of the I don't know enough about ape species.
The gingers, all the orangutans.
literally, yeah, it's like orangutans. They're all weird. We don't need
What's
them
the one
anymore.
with the little purple asses that you can see all the time?
Oh, is that baboon? Is that a baboon?
Baboons, yeah. The baboons,
Yeah, there's-
they're dirty.
Where's
You
the
can't have them.
baboons? There's no baboons.
Well, there we go. The next one follows the one baboon tribe. That's just like we have been hunted to extinction.
We're the underdogs, man.
Like I think that is serious. That is dope. That's ballsy to be like. We are just blatantly exploring like hardcore stuff. You can't explore. That's where these movies need to go. Where you can't, because you can't just be like, here is one race just being purged by others and be like, yeah, we're just going to talk about this for a while. It's like, no, that's going to upset some people. But you can do that when it's like gorillas are just slaughtering chimpanzees like left and right. And you're like, you have a scene of this gorilla just drinking out of the skull of Noah. And he's like, yeah, they couldn't do shit to us.
Chimpanzees are forced to drink from separate water fountains. They have to sit at the back of the bus.
Surely, I mean,
orangutans are all the smart ones. Like they're all like historically they have been. They're like,
but they're scared of the gorillas, so they're kind of enslaved to them anyway, right? Yeah. No, there's
for them.
There's a way to make a society out of this that could be interesting, and then throw humans into the mix, right? And then watch the fireworks pop off. I don't know if they ever have the balls to do that, honestly.
No.
Wes Ball is not the person to have the balls to do this.
Where's balls? Yeah. No, he's Yeah, I need to see this. I need to see this in the hands of a visionary, in the hands of someone who wants to write and read like there's stories here, rather than because I don't know anything about the development of this, but I'm assuming that this was entirely Fox that was like, we need more because we think we can reboot it and make money. And name me 3 franchises that ever succeeded by doing that. Don't actually. Like there probably is some, but. Yeah.
All right. Do you guys place this movie over any of the original trilogy? I think you guys all place it over Rise.
Definitely better than Rise.
I think this is worse than all the originals. Maybe it's better than War. I didn't like that movie.
Goodness, get out of here.
No. This is currently 80% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is quite high.
It's because Rotten Tomatoes is a garbage rating system.
At the moment, I would put this 4th.
The worst.
Yeah, but I did miss half of it. So I'll update my ranking another time. I like Rise. I
know you do.
Even now, James Franco's window is the pendant for their hope for Caesar.
Oh, that's where he gets a symbol from.
Yeah, it's his window that he used to look out as a child.
That's right.
But yeah, I like Rise. This fell underneath those ones, but yeah.
Any closing remarks about this movie?
Apes together strong.
Not really. I really think they should have
catchphrase.
Yeah, should have been
missed opportunity.
And they should have called him Kaiser. Just makes more sense.
Just for your sake.
It's just
all
logical.
Right. Next fortnight, we're taking the easy way out again. We're doing 2 movies, I guess. We're doing Mad Max Fury Road and the prequel Furiosa, which we knew in cinemas. I'm hyped about this movie. I know that I watched a trailer and I wasn't super excited by it, but I don't know. Kojima was just in his pants over it, so I'm keen to see what they come up with.
I'm sure, like people who've seen it, like are singing high praises for it. So we'll see.
Yes,
that seems to happen a lot, though. I don't know.
Yeah.
It doesn't take much to get a standing ovation at Cannes, right?
Every DCU film had high praise before they came out.
Yeah.
Justice League, the New Avengers.
And another 2.5-hour movie. It's long, but it will go by so fast.
I hope so.
because of cars driving. They're really fast.
And also the frame rate will get sped up and slowed down and all over the
Oh
place.
yeah,
too, so.
well, good editing. Just
I know. Let's do this shit.
Yeah, right on.
All right. Thanks for joining us for the good, the bad, and the worst. This podcast was brought to you by. Does anyone have it in front of them? We're all slack. The God Grotesque, Taste of Iron, Conan's book.
Speaking of meandering journeys into hell, that's
they are a journey. That's true.
My life.
Get them on Amazon. I think you can get paperback. You can definitely get it digitally. Yes. Join us next week for Furiosa and Mad Max Fury Road. Tell your mum about us. Rate us on Spotify, and keep listening. Thanks for joining us.
Peace.
Apes.